Good afternoon, everybody. It is January 12th, 2026. It's Monday. It is minus 14 outside. It's a nice sunny day here in Minsk, Belarus. I want to go out. But today I'm going to be talking a lot about the Iranian riots, what's going on, and maybe putting that in a little bit of comparison to some other places. And I'll also be talking a little bit about, the famous topic for all of us is, the fake news or something that just keeps coming out. And, some news is always biased, depending on who's telling it and from what perspective. And sometimes it's flat out wrong, and a lot of stuff from Donald Trump. I don't know. It makes you wonder if he knows that he's lying or if he was just given bad information, such as these ships or something that are supposed to be by Greenland, the Russian and Chinese, which is BS anyway. But important kind of to me is this is kind of an anniversary. Tomorrow is January 13th, and it's the anniversary of the death of a very well-known author and journalist. He was an editor at the Frankfurter Allgemein, and his name is Udo Ulfkotte, and he wrote Gekauften Journalist. I think, how do they pronounce that, or how do they translate that into American? But it means like bought and paid for journalist. And a lot of that book talks about how he himself and virtually all journalists in Germany are paid by the United States, through all their various agencies, CIA sort of thing, intelligence agencies, to report the stories the way the United States wants to. And very often the stories are written entirely by somebody from the US, and they just print them in the paper as if they wrote it. So it's all told from the United States slant. If you want to talk about bias, that's even more than bias. You think it'd be plagiarism or something, but it's it's terrible. But it's they get favors, and it's a lot of times a lot of money and vacations and maybe cars and gifts if you are on the payroll of the United States for a long period of time. And I'm assuming that maybe it's Israel too. It's mostly he talks about foreign countries. So it's all frustrating anyway when you're reading the news and a lot of this stuff is not true anyway. So anyway, but you're looking at what's going on today and so much fake news, and you see what Donald Trump is trying to pull on everybody and telling us all these that this leader's a drug dealer and these leaders are heads of terrorist organizations, and they always have something to say about whoever is in charge of the country where they have resources that is coveted by the United States, or even not just resources, strategic positions or anything. And I guess a lot of what is going on in Venezuela, it's of course to get the oil. Everybody knows that, but it's also about kicking China out. Donald Trump is trying to get China out of the entire continent of South America, and China has a lot of money and a lot of investment there. And as you remember, Donald Trump was threatening the Panama Canal. He's going to take it back and all that. Well, it didn't have to be that way because he was able to convince them to throw out China. So they threw China out, and they're selling, I guess, these, the locks or whatever of Panama Canal to somebody else. And what's going on at the moment, it looks like Nicaragua is now going to be going into their construction of their own version of the Panama Canal. And it's going to be, of course, with China, and it's going to be far better than the Panama Canal. It's going to be wider, deeper, and actually it's a little bit closer to the United States if you think about it. And obviously the United States is not going to settle for that, because this whole thing is mostly about China. It's about oil and China more than anything else. This whole thing with Venezuela, and it was with Panama and also Bolivia. Donald Trump has full control over the government of Bolivia and Panama. And of course, it looks like he's moving that direction for Venezuela. and he believes he had Honduras. Remember, they just had an election just what is it, a week or so ago? But it turns out that I guess it's the part of their Congress or something, are going to recount the votes another time in entirety. They're going to count all of the votes soon as that happened in Venezuela. And Donald Trump, of course, as you remember, he threatened the country unless his candidate won. He said there's going to be heavy consequences unless his candidate wins the election. And as you know, there's going to be an election in Colombia right next door to Venezuela. And you know, it's one of the big countries that Donald Trump is threatening. He's not threatening Colombia as much, of course, as he is in Cuba. You know, which is very strange. It seems like it would be much easier to be doing something with Cuba. There's so many Cuban Americans and people that came. Marco Rubio is one of them. But in Colombia, he's probably already got some things planned and things in operation right now with the CIA, because they have there's a one-term limit on the presidents of Colombia, and Petro's limit is up on the 31st of May, so that's like 4 months from now. And there's no way let me put it a different way. It's pretty stupid to overthrow the government when there's only 4 months left of the government. Isn't it much easier to make sure that the one who wins is the one that you want to win? And you got to buy that politician and threaten them. You know, it's positive and negative reinforcements, a little bit of Pavlov's dogs, or maybe the electric shocks or something. What was that movie? I guess then they play that song from Sting in there. I think it's called Cat's Eyes, where trying to teach somebody or get somebody to stop smoking, put them on a floor, and then, what was that about? Was that about smoking? I can't remember. It was actually about smoking. I think it was about the husband, but I think that they said that they took the guy's wife and put her in a little room with they can electrify the floor, and every time he smokes, they would be spying on him, like, let's see, I'll be watching you. That's what they play, that song from Sting. And so they grab this guy and they show his wife getting electroshocks in her bare feet. Every time he smokes, they go and nab her and put her in there. And then I think it was something like, I think it was losing weight and trying to lose some weight or whatever. And I think it's like there's somebody else going in. And then they said, well, what happens if I don't lose weight or something? And then they were like joking, we cut off your wife's little finger or something like that. And then the guy goes to dinner, and the wife puts her hand up, she's drinking a glass of wine and her little finger's cut off. And so I know that's the kind of tactics Donald Trump uses, I guess. So it's like the art of the deal, as you know. That's how you deal. You got to have cards. You got to have a lot of cards. You got to have the leverage, and then you just threaten somebody. I mean, that's a good deal. Strange that Russia and China don't do that. That's kind of how they offer something good in return for something that they get back. They find out what the other party needs, and they give it to them. And it looks like a lot of people are saying that the entirety of the Western Hemisphere under with the United States there, and if you think, looking back in the Monroe Doctrine, the United States has done virtually nothing for any of those countries. Nothing at all. China has done far, far more. Even Russia has done more. And Russia's not as involved, but China has done far more. Lots of infrastructure projects, just like in Africa. But it looks like the big, rich, reserve currency country of the United States, some reason cannot compete with China. And it makes you wonder why. Maybe the Chinese maybe they work a lot better. Maybe they're more disciplined. Maybe they're smarter, and maybe they know how to make deals better. But wait a minute, the art of the deal. Oh, anyway. So, threats are the deal. So, yes, but talking about this Udo, what is it? Udo Ulfkotte. We have to look at this as what it really is. And if you've all heard about Operation Mockingbird, and of course that was the United States attempt to try to counter what they said, and makes me now wonder, that probably wasn't true, about Soviet propaganda. So they, bought and threatened and did everything to people in the news business, and won them over, I guess. So it was you only get a very tainted version of what the news is all about, and it's obviously going on, and that's what Udo Ulfkotte was talking about back in those days. And of course, it's still going. Operation Mockingbird. That's whenever you hear that, you know what that's about. That's the United States government control over the media. Or is it Israel? It's probably Israel. Israel, I guess they're the ones that control the media now, more than the United States does. Well, very strange. I don't even, God, who's going to be able to sit back and think of how complicated this whole web is? And, what was this Five Eyes and, oh gosh, all of this complicated stuff. And, I've told you guys before, when I was in learning one of my trades, dental technician, when I was over there was a guy in my class, and he was always, did you know that the United States listens in on the telephone calls of Angela Merkel, who was the leader of Germany? And it didn't surprise me at all. And, we've heard always from Edward Snowden and everybody else, they're certainly doing that. They've been doing it for a long time. Bill Clinton even said that. Bill Clinton said that to Monica Lewinsky, and that's in the transcripts, that Israel was listening in on American phone calls during that time. He said, be careful what you say on the phone, because a foreign government is listening in on the phone calls, especially on Bill Clinton's, of course. But it just really lets you know what's going on in the world. And I think there was this program that, and I was thinking that was part of the Five Eyes. There's some sort of a deal where the what do you call it? The host, the present country, doesn't listen in on their own phone calls, but it's a different country, so that they can say, we don't listen in on the phone calls of our citizens, and then it will be truthful. Instead, they have Israel doing it, for example. And for Germany, in the Germany's case, they have the United States listening in on their phone calls. And I guess we can also say they read our emails, everything else like that. And you think that your Apple phone is encrypted and WhatsApp is encrypted, but I guess they can read through those things as well. They've got backdoors, and they say, aha, no, that's not true, because they're trying to press Apple so that they can, get access to people's phones. Well, apparently they already do, but they just want it in writing that they have permission to do that. But I guess they can already read everybody's emails, as if there's anything that's important. I don't know. That's what I've heard of anyway. I'm not a big person in all that tech to know you to tell if it's true or not, but I've just heard that from other sources. I think Edward Snowden would even tell you the same thing. So, yes. So that Udo Ulfkotte, he died, oh gosh, I think it was 2017, was it? I think 2017. Well, he was dying of cancer, so he wrote these books, and of course one of them was exposing that most all of the German media just writes news the way the United States tells them to write, and with the slant, anything the American government tells them to write, that they will write, and then they get paid handsomely for that. But there's other books that he wrote while he was dying of cancer. You have nothing to lose, so I guess you can put all this stuff out. It's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to get paid for it or something? And where are you going to spend it? When are you going to spend it when you're dying? It's like Aaron Rousseau. He's the one that wrote that book, From Freedom to Fascism, and he was talking about how the United States has moved into becoming a fascist country. But there's a lot of people that have been saying that the United States, and it is a fascist country. If you look up what the real definition of fascism is, the United States is clearly a fascist country. And, a lot of people were talking, it's very visible when Obama took over General Motors, but, it's what it was, fascism. 1911, it was defined perfectly good by, I guess, the most accurate definition of that was from, I was going to say Hugo Chavez, Benito Mussolini, when he said that fascism is the marriage of corporate money to government power. And that's how that works in the United States. And look at, why did Donald Trump call all those oil companies in when he's talking about Venezuela. And why did he call this guy Lauder in about the lithium in Ukraine? And how many examples do you need? How many examples? Who is Witkoff and who is Kushner? Well, they're real estate guys. And who did he send to talk about what's going to be happening to Gaza? Well, he sent some real estate. I mean, you don't really need anything more conclusive than anything like that, do you? So, but that's the original definition of fascism. And now that maybe they turned it to something to do with race or something, or your skin color, maybe religion, I don't know. But I don't know. It's whatever it's changed to anyway. Another book that he wrote, very controversial, and it didn't last very long because he had to take it down. It was causing a lot of lawsuits, one direction as well as the other direction. And that was, he wrote it and finished it in 2002, and then it got published at the very beginning of 2003, and it's called The War in Our Cities. I'm believing it was written in English because I didn't see a German title. I mean, at least that the title is in English, maybe the whole book. But I guess you'd have to look it up, The War in Our Cities. And what that talks about, you can think, well, this guy, did he have a crystal ball or something? He was talking about the radical Islamatization of Europe. And he was a Muslim for even a short time. He was in Afghanistan for 10 years. So I don't think he's really so much against Islam, but he is, I guess, looked at as being an Islamophobe. He was Christian, and then he went to Muslim for a short period of time, and then he went back to Christianity. And I think if you've dabbled a little bit in both, it would definitely show you that Islam and Christianity are certainly not enemies. So, I mean, both religions, anybody that is a scholar enough to know both of those religions will tell you that. And it's, you might even say that they all go back to the root religion of those times, which is the Zoroastrianism from Zoroaster, ancient Sumeria, where they believed that there would be a Messiah coming, and I think that he would die for the sins of mankind and all that sort of a deal. There's still that religion still exists in Iran, and we're going to be talking about Iran. Well, that's pretty strange. So let me keep going. So it's mostly about radical Islam, and I think in particular the Muslim Brotherhood. But the Muslim Brotherhood, I guess it is different in different countries. So you have a more radical one maybe in one country, and in another country they're not radical at all. So I would assume that he knows that. He was not a dummy, so I don't know. Maybe he was just saying generally look out for, this thing. And I think then he was being sued, or the publisher was being sued, and then he in turn, the journalist, he turned around and he was suing as well. So, but I guess, like I said, you'd call him an Islamophobe, but especially, well, at least when it came to Europe, because he didn't like seeing that the culture disappearing. Back in 2002, I don't know, maybe he wrote it even in 2001. So that was a long time ago. And he saw that coming even back then. Incredible. And so, like I said, they had to take that out of print. And look at what it looks like in Europe now. It's, I guess his fears were justified. And I tell you, like I said, it's not necessarily against Islam. And it's more against these leaders that they have been putting into these positions. And it makes you wonder, how did this all start, and why did it start this way? And why did they import radical Islamic fundamentalists into countries in Europe? It got really bad, as you know, in Sweden, and some declared their own country within Sweden, an Islamic country. And they say that in a few years, there's going to be countries and they're going to be Islamic. That France is going to be an Islamic country. I think it's in 4 more years. It'll be more Muslims than there will be Christians. And I think it's the same in England. I think it's already that far. And that's why you are seeing a lot of Muslims and things in higher positions. But again, I'm not saying that these are probably not radical Muslims, is what I should be saying. And if you look at like George Galloway, he has nothing against Islam either. And so it's not really that. It's the, I guess it's it's these governments, and they get these people in, they let them come in that don't even like Europe, and they even hate Europe. So they just, I don't know what they're there for. Maybe to destroy Europe. And I think that's maybe what that Ulfkotte was talking about, that these people were going there purposefully to destroy Europe. And that's very possible. And I don't know how many times I have to keep stressing, it's not Islam, it's maybe some of these people in Islam. And I guess it's what you would call blowback. I guess when you have these Western countries going to the Islamic countries and blowing them up and starting wars and taking their oil and all that, you can expect it, by the laws of physics, it's something else. If there's an action, there's going to be a reaction. And a lot of people hate that when you say blowback. Oh, how dare you say that? Oh, but I'm sorry. That's just how it works. I would say, I don't know. It's like I was going to say that there's something like it's like a pendulum effect, or more like physics. Like I said, like I was just talking about what Newton's third law of physics, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So I guess that's very weird how the world works. And it's like yin and yang, for there to be good, there has to be evil and things like that within even one person. So you have to have a good side and a bad side. I guess everybody has a good side and a bad side. And it makes you really wonder, what is your dark side? Like, Alex Jones or Donald Trump, he's gone to his dark side right now, Donald Trump, as we all been watching. It's incredibly terrible, though. So, and it's like, I was also thinking this a little bit more, if I'm getting philosophized a little bit, and I'm thinking about nature. And you know how nature, when something goes wrong, it seeks to find a balance to get things at least to some sort of an equilibrium. Maybe it's not going to be the same as it was before, but it will find an equilibrium, to facilitate whatever nature is trying to facilitate at that time, which is it's also a fascinating thing, because you can, it's hard to give an example, but you can find examples yourself by just watching how things happen when you, say some building is destroyed and then nature tries to take over again, and plants are starting to come around in the buildings, and you might be walking through a forest and all of a sudden you'll stub your foot on a foundation, and from even 5 feet away it doesn't look like a house ever existed there, but you'll be tripping over the foundation. I don't know if that's happened to any of you, but it certainly has, and it's like nature trying to regain its balance again. Yeah, I was saying that, trying to figure out, well, what kind of balance are we going to see now with Trump after he's been pulling all of this stuff? And there's something that's strange, and it's actually started in Russia before, and it's going to probably accelerate a little bit, and it's something a lot of you don't even know about. Oh, but somebody called me in one of the comments, was it yesterday or the day before, that I'm a Putin agent or something like that. And some of the comments from other people, I left it up, because it's pretty funny. It's like a lot of people are, obviously this person doesn't subscribe, so I can probably insult them. I'm not going to insult them so bad anyway, but it's just that some people, they're not really up on how the world works and what is really going on in the world. So they're still, thinking that Putin is evil and he's trying to overthrow the elections of the United States, even though nobody knows how and nobody has any evidence. It's like Donald Trump. Like I'm going to tell you about the ships off the coast of Greenland. I don't know. You don't know about Donald Trump sometimes. But Donald Trump, one thing that has to be clear, is, when you're looking at, they have these, what is this, what is the name of that conservative, I don't know, it's not called Political Conservative Committee or something. Anyway, it's not, nothing is as big as AIPAC. Everybody has to rush up to on the backside of Israel. And but so this one is I don't know, what is that called? But a lot of conservatives try to go there, and and I guess it's kind of an honor. You get up and speak for that. I don't know if Donald Trump ever did, but Donald Trump is clearly, if there's one person that is in the entire United States government today, one person that is not a conservative, it is Donald Trump. Donald Trump dresses conservatively, full stop, and that's it. A conservative is somebody that is more resistant to change. They will take a lot longer period of time before they make any big changes, and that is obviously not Donald Trump. I mean, you don't just go and kidnap the leader of some country, break the laws, break international law, and all of the crazy stuff, bombing countries. War is not conservative. So Donald Trump is not a conservative. Bombing countries, that's not conservative. I mean, and they even listen to the way he talks. I'll tell you what Biden is an ultra conservative compared to Donald Trump. That's just for your information. It doesn't apply to any kind of news that I'm talking to you about today. But just look up the word conservative before you think that Donald Trump is a conservative. I don't know, Obama, he's probably even a little bit more conservative than Trump, but Obama, he's a guy, they're just conservative in different ways. Like Obama said, it's absolutely great to become homosexual, that you should become a homosexual, that it's really, really cool. And I don't think Donald Trump would be saying that. So maybe Obama would never go in and kidnap the leader of a country. So neither of them are conservatives, but in their own way. So, okay, but what I was going to get up to is what's going on in Russia, and this is, but I'm supposed to be a Putin agent. I should wait till I get my check. Putin paid. Paid. Yeah, that's right. I'm paid. I have to wait till I get my check, and then I can start talking about Putin. But I don't know. Then I won't get another check. So how it's paying me, I guess, all the riches I've got. So I don't know. It might surprise people that there's a movement afoot in Russia to remove Vladimir Putin. Ooh. And there's a lot of prominent people that are part of this movement. And I'm not even sure who they are, and it doesn't even matter, because you never know. People can change their mind, and it's not like they're going to, start a January 6th armed insurrection. Somebody said that, wrote in a comment, and I respect, of course, the person, but they said soft coup, and then, of course, that made it a lot better. There was no real coup d'etat with guns and all that, but then again, I don't know. Could he have conducted a soft coup with no weapons, just people going in there and sitting around in Congress or something? I don't know. And then they eventually have to go. I think Congress would just say, okay, recess for today, come back tomorrow, and everybody goes. And these people didn't do really any vandalism, very, very little. And the only person who was shot was one of the protesters that didn't have a gun. She was former military even. So anyway, but I'm not saying there's going to be a coup in Russia, because there wouldn't be a coup. But there are people, they're frustrated with, for the most part, is about the special military operation. And Trump might have had a little bit of, what do they call it? Interference in the, I don't know, in the government of Russia. What do they call that? The election interference? Well, anyway, because he said, oh, look, and they still haven't finished it yet. But Vladimir Putin is doing this a different way, as you all know. You remember the old Surovikin plan? The Surovikin plan was to wear down the enemy slowly and gradually. In other words, not making any large offensives or nothing like that. Otherwise, you make offensives and you lose more men. So you try to just move in increments to lose less people. And for a large part, it's maybe worked. But in the long run, maybe it hasn't. Because if they would have just really stormed the place, lots of bombs and all, and gone deeper into they would have probably had the entire Donbass, and I could even imagine that they wouldn't have lost any more people, at least, than what they have already, at least on the Russian side. And maybe even the Ukrainian side. They would all been running. And if Russia would have been hitting them hard, and it's like the United States. As you all know, the United States has a much different, I don't know, it's not even really the shock and awe, which is just an adaptation of Blitzkrieg, from Guderian, from the Second World War, from the German 3rd Panther Division, I guess. But, just bomb everybody, kill everybody, and, just bomb everything and destroy everything. That's the United States way. Destroy their water supply, all of their energy, everything. Just destroy, destroy, destroy. And I don't know if that saves lives more than Putin. And Putin, of course, he can decimate. He can, of course, level the entire city of Kiev if he really did want to, obviously. But I don't know. He's trying to save lives, and you have to realize that those are their brothers. They look at the Ukrainians as their brothers, part of the Eastern Slavic Empire, or peoples, and not empire. And so he doesn't want to go killing everybody. He doesn't even want to kill the soldiers. He'd rather have them surrender and then give them food and medical treatment and all. Sometimes they release them right back. And I'm not saying that they go back and kill Russians or not, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not down there. So, but, yeah, it's a lot of the influential people and maybe even the regular people. And I heard about this quite a while ago. A lot of people are ticked off, and they're also angry, believe it or not, also of Russians dying too, because there are Russians certainly dying. And they want the war to be over. However, there's a lot more to it than just that. And it's not like, oh, give up. It doesn't mean that, because they want, instead of just these 4 oblasts, Lugansk and Donetsk and Kherson and Zaporozhia, as well as, of course, Crimea, they want also Kharkiv, and they want Odessa, and maybe just throw in, well, they said at least those two oblasts as well, those 2 regions, and it would also have to contain Nikolaev and whatever lies in between Odessa and Transnistria. I would think that would be a must as well. And it's very strange that they haven't militarily, Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine have not militarily gone in and taken over Transnistria, which is a pro-Russian. It's an enclave again. It's a lot like I guess you'd say Kaliningrad. So what else? They also want to get rid of Zelensky. So these are also the people on the other side that also want, this is this group that wants Putin to say bye-bye and get somebody else in there. So they want Zelensky or taken out of power any way possible. And they want at least those 6 oblasts I mentioned, the whole Donbass, as well as Kherson, Zaporozhia, Nikolaev, Odessa, and Kharkiv, at least that. And I don't know about the Nazification. There were some other minor parts of it as well, but of course, as you know, to end the war a little faster. But I'll tell you what, Kharkiv is huge. It's the 2nd biggest city in Ukraine. So, if it took them that long to get some of these other smaller cities, how long do you think it'll take to get Kharkiv? Yeah. And then they're going to really be sick. I don't know. I don't know if Putin has a better option. Donald Trump, like I said, first they would go in and try to kill everybody, even if it's Canadians, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they do that to Floridians or, people from Utah, as far as I know. Donald Trump probably would. Plus, they would have to go into mandatory conscription again. And, of course, more destruction, more death. Okay. There's also anger that Putin's people are not disclosing the U.S. involvement in this attack on Putin's residence in Novgorod. So apparently the CIA was very much involved in that. So it looks like that was an operation between the SBU from the Ukraine, and it was the MI6 of Great Britain, and the major role was played by the CIA. And apparently the Russian government showed proof to the United States that they were involved in it. So that's why you're not hearing very much at all from the United States. And the United States was trying to say, oh yeah, well, we don't think that Zelensky was trying to kill Putin. And it's like, well, maybe they weren't. Maybe it was the CIA doing it then. So I don't know. It looks like the least involvement was maybe Ukraine. So, and it's very strange that Zelensky, twice before that, in 1 week before that, he's talking about getting rid of Putin, assassinating and things, that we wished him all dead and stuff like that. Some very strange language. I mean, what does that tell you? And I told you the other day, was it even yesterday, maybe the day before, that Donald Trump is engineering, because, he wanted to save money. It's costing too much money, Ukraine, all that money going into Ukraine and as you know, America first sort of a deal and all that, we got to stop sending out that money so we can have more for Israel. We can send 130, it was 100 and something billion to Israel, send 40 plus 20 billions to Melee, and now just 800 billion to Zelensky. That's far more than even Joe Biden sent to Zelensky. And Donald Trump is going to send that. Of course, it's over the period of 10 years. And, if that's not enough, the European Union is also sending 800 billion euros. So they got $800 billion going. The greatest salesman on earth is Zelensky. It makes you wonder. I mean, how did he do that? I need a little bit of cash right now. Putin is never going to, he stops. I don't know when he's going to send the checks. He's I don't know. I was hoping I get the check on some day, every day, because I'm a Putin, Oh, did I just disclose that? Anyways, I wonder how much Candace Owens gets from Putin and Tucker. Anyway, I want what they get. So, yes, so this was on the 28th and the 29th, and then, like I said, Russia showed some evidence to the United States. They brought it to them and showed them. I don't know, maybe it was United States, what was this? They had the, they had a very, very well preserved drone. I think they had maybe some of the wings were just broken or whatever, but they had the entire drone, and they were just showing it to the United States. That the United States was involved in this. So I guess some of the stuff that's there, maybe it was something to hook with satellites. It's really incredible. They probably thought they would all be destroyed. It was 91 drones. You got to think, well, maybe one of them is not going to get destroyed. So $800 million and $800 billion and 800 billion euros. Wow. And who is it? I think it's the EU in general. They're sending at least, when it was France. France is going to send 100 Rafale fighter jets, I believe. And Europe is sending them quite a bit. And I think they've gotten 27 of the F-16s that they're supposed to get. I think it was like 58 they're supposed to get altogether. And Sweden is supposed to be sending, I think it's 150. And that's probably over the course of 10 years. So they're hoping that this war, and they're planning on it, and they're making contingencies for this war to go on for at least another 10 years. And I'm sure that even Donald Trump is, he's going for this stuff too. As time goes by, some people, they reveal themselves, and it looks like Donald Trump is not really trying to end this war. He's egging it on. He just wants the appearance of trying to end the war, the appearance of that he wants to stop the killing. And of course, if he can, and it's for great advantages for the United States, maybe he would want to end this war, but it doesn't look like it so far. Wow. Okay, there is some people, damn them anyway, in the European well, at least in the European Union, if not Europe altogether. I don't know if all of them are in the European Union anyway, but there is Slovakia, and there is Hungary, and there is the Czech Republic. So Fico, and of course Orban and Babis from Czech Republic, and they don't want to send any money to Ukraine. But Fico, he's speaking lately, and everybody's talking about, and it is true, how great Orban is. I mean, even people that are maybe against him, this does not include Ursula von der Leyen, of course, or Kaja Kallas, because they'll never say anything good about him. But you see, even Israel saying good things. Well, Israel, that's the bad thing about Orban. He is not so hard on Israel as he really should be, to be a very great leader. I mean, he's very good in my opinion, but he's not a great leader. Fico is a great leader. Fico doesn't like the killing of what's going on in Gaza. He believes in everything that Viktor Orban believes in, all of the same things, except he's outspoken about what's going on there in Gaza. And Fico also came out and talking about the vaccines. If Fico told his mind, he'd be deleted off of YouTube, because you're not allowed to say those things. But he talked about the vaccines, and a lot of you know my opinion, and a lot of you have the same opinion, and Robert Fico. So Robert Fico, he has a very small country, Slovakia, but if I wanted to choose a leader whose moral compass was pointed in the right way more than any other leader, I would say Robert Fico. He's the guy, remember, they put a whole bunch of bullets in him, they tried to assassinate him, and it's a wonder, I think it was 8 bullets, bam, bam, right into him at point blank range, and it's amazing that the guy even lived. He was fighting, and he made it. And he's even in very good shape. Decent guy. I really like Robert Fico. As a matter of fact, did I tell you I met somebody here, and I think they come from Austria, and they're part of like a Robert Fico fan club. Wow. So there are a lot of people that like Robert Fico, that they've noticed him. So that's the leader to look at. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a great big position. As a matter of fact, what did he call for? I think it was yesterday. He called for the resignation or the removal of Kaja Kallas. Kaja Kallas, she's the one that said that we need to kill more Russian children. So she'd fit along really well with Netanyahu, I guess. But, Robert Fico said that she should be removed, not only probably for that remark, but for a lot of other things. She seems like not very competent. Kaja Kallas, she's kind of a cute lady, but she's just not too competent, maybe a little messed up there, So, Iran now, let's get into these. That's some really big news. Get into these Mossad riots, which is who's the one that's running these whole riots. They're the ones, the people in charge more than anything. I don't know if the CIA, because the CIA has always taken actions against Iran. If you guys remember when they caught this Rigi, he was the leader of Jundala. It's called the Jundala terrorist group, and it was aimed at killing Iranians and Iranian National Guard, and I think that actually is an Iranian group, but that was run by NATO, by some NATO leader, and they didn't want to say who it is, but it's somebody very high, and it's the United States, obviously, and this guy was supposed to be killing a whole bunch of people in Iran, setting bombs off and all that, and he admitted it. They caught this guy. They brought the plane down. It's not like the United States brings a plane down. They just blow the plane up. Iran forced the plane to land, and they extracted this guy from the plane. It's a little bit similar maybe to what Alexander Lukashenko did, remember, on that Ryanair thing? But actually, Lukashenko was not really even the one totally responsible for that. So apparently there was some report from Switzerland, I guess, that there was a bomb on board. Now, it could be that the intelligence agencies of Belarus contacted them in Switzerland and, acted like they were the terrorists and they put the bomb on board. So then the Swiss contacted Ryanair and said that there's believed to be a bomb on there and that they should land. And they could have landed, I think, in Vilnius. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, they turned around and they landed instead in Minsk. And it just so happens that there was an instigator on the plane and his girlfriend. This guy, what's his name? Prostovich. Oh, he had a really interesting name. Oh gosh, it sounds like a Roman name or something like that. Anyway, but they got that guy who's a young guy and is like kind of like a journalist in a way, and I guess he fought on the side of the Azov Nazis just for a short time. Maybe you see a picture of him in a uniform. Maybe he just got, in truth, maybe he just wanted to look like something like that. But anyway, he was caught and he was in jail here, and he was released by Lukashenko after a time, and he actually even thanked Lukashenko for his release. And Lukashenko, as you know, has released a lot of people, especially even from those that were trying to overthrow the government in 2020. And a lot of that is to, I guess you'd say, thanks to Donald Trump. I guess he was, but it was supposed to be some promises from Donald Trump. And I think one of them was even to put in the embassy, the American embassy in Minsk again. But it seems like that was the last thing that the Belarusian government would want. As you know, American embassies, that's the nest beds of the spies. That's where they conduct their operations for overthrows of government and things like that, is actually always through the embassies and consulates and things like that. So that maybe delaying it, or maybe the Lukashenko said, well, no, don't put an embassy there. I don't know what the heck Belarus got out of it. I think maybe lifting some sanctions. I guess they lifted sanctions on 8 planes from Belavia. That's the national airline of Belarus. And before that, they were banned. And I don't even know, are they flying into Europe now? Because that would have to, the lifting of the sanctions would have to be coming from Europe and not from the United States. And they don't have planes, I don't think, that can fly to the United States. So I don't know. They dropped sanctions. I think it was 8 airplanes. I don't know. Very strange stuff. So to me, a lot of it doesn't make sense. But I don't know. I don't think Lukashenko's a dummy. So yes. So it has been announced by Iran's president that they are now in control of these riots. It does not mean that the riots are going to end immediately, but they are in control. And I think what that means is they got enough people and they got enough information to know where it's and how it's run, the entire riots, and they probably now know how to thwart it. And there's a lot of information I have about this, and I'll just keep going about some of the confessions of some of the people, the rioters, and wow, some really heavy stuff. And I guess maybe the rioters throughout all of Iran, it might actually equal. And of course, this includes agents and those that are not agents, some that maybe are swept up with the ideology of disliking their government or whatever. But I think it's like altogether, maybe in total, the entire country, I think is maybe 30,000 people, rioters and protesters. And of course, a lot of those people are not doing any of the nasty stuff. They're just protesting. And now they're having these pro-government rallies. And it's happening for the past 2 days. And today it's supposed to be really big. But I guess it's estimated, even yesterday, I guess, was over 2 million, closer to 3 million people are rallying in support of the government of Iran. And they said that the one today might even reach over 4 million people. I mean, we're talking about countrywide. That's a lot more than 30,000, I would say. So it's a lot of people. And Iran, I guess, has been showing footage of a lot of like CCTV camera footage of what these rioters are doing. And they're putting up some of these people while they're confessing, and they said telling exactly how they are doing it. They have foreign handlers, and a lot of these people are shipped in, and some of them, Israel, the Mossad has been training these people for years. And as you know, it's been a long time, and they're setting up people. They got a lot of contacts inside of Iran, because Benjamin Netanyahu, he's been losing a lot of sleep and crying in his oatmeal every morning, so angry at Iran, wanting to get, and destroy the country. But he loves the Iranian people. Yeah. He loves the Gazan people too. You saw how much he loves them. Yeah. And Trump and Netanyahu, Lindsey Graham, I guess they're going to probably be going silent as these rioters get arrested, and of course that's going to quiet down the rest of them. They're not going to have that much base to be going on because they're the what do you call it, the ringmasters or whatever. They're going to be arrested, and hopefully they will get into big trouble. You ought to hear that some of the crimes, I'll get to that they have been instructed to do, and they have been. But it's people, foreigners, and maybe, I doubt if it's from overseas, but anyway, I mean, sure, these people are overseas, the ones that are actually running and did all the planning of this, but there are people in the country. Wow. But you're hearing, of course, Donald Trump is really, really anxious, and so is Graham, of course. They really want to bomb. Of course, you know Netanyahu is. He's just not showing it. But they really want to bomb Iran, you know? Because they're nice people, I guess. I mean, Trump and Lindsey Graham. Yeah, and Donald Trump, I think he said soon. He said, you'll find out soon enough. Something like that. You know Donald Trump. You'll see soon enough. I don't know. Says that about everybody and everything. He said, if Iran responds, these were his words, Donald Trump said, we will hit them at all levels that they've never been hit before. I have options that are so strong. Anyway, he's talking about really something devastating, I guess. You know, and he's probably has got some pretty nasty weapons. And he said, we can bomb you. Oh, no. I said it's like Trump is saying, we can bomb you, but you can't bomb us. So those words were actually the response of Donald Trump, unless I didn't make that clear, that if Iran retaliates from the U.S. bombings. So when U.S. and Israel, which is probably going to be a joint operation when they get together and they bomb Iran, if Iran responds, then Trump is going to really go after them so strong, as he said. So we can bomb you, but you can't bomb us back. So, see, that's a fair fight. That's the art of the deal, is to just be the bully. Wow. Okay. Yeah, but anyway, I don't know. I'm guessing. I'll tell you what. The CIA is possibly also involved. But I was thinking. I think I'll get to that. Did I write that down? I was going to write down there's a difference between the Belarus riots and the riots in Iran, because I wasn't here for those riots, but of course I heard a lot about it, how things went. And that was, of course, going through U.S. aid and all those kind of people. And the one in Iran is, of course, is through the Mossad, and they're very brutal. Here they did kill some people. They killed 3 policemen, I mean, the rioters over here. And it's not, I don't know, there's not that many rioters. They're mostly protesters, a lot of protesters, and they were kind of bad enough, but Iran had it far worse. And remember, former head of the CIA, Mike Pompeo, he admitted, now it's been 2 times that he has admitted that it is the Mossad behind this. Makes you wonder if it is also the United States, to the CIA. So, now I get into that about setting the two apart, Belarus and what's going on in Iran. It's the sheer brutality of what's going on. The stuff that they're doing in Iran is just really beastly. It's really beastly stuff. They're decapitating people as well as the police, chopping their heads off, and they're burning them alive, setting them on fire. And, of course, destroying the businesses, some very much, almost completely, setting fires to everything, a lot of stuff. And, the little bit I've seen, I'll bet you there's a lot of other stuff. They're given machine guns, and I'll get to what their orders were, too, from the Mossad. Or it's actually, when you think about it, it's not directly from, the Mossad will have a proxy, and then that proxy will have another proxy. They have some different proxies all the way down the line, so it makes it very difficult to trace it all the way back to the Mossad. But somehow everybody always finds out it's the Mossad involved in it when they really are. And they haven't even denied it. They are told... Well, I'll get to that in a minute here. I'll put it in the direct quote. I have a quote. They took voicemails, and they got the messages that these rioters are they're supposed to do. But a lot of this is similar to this. You can see that it is like Israel is involved in that, because you look at the Hannibal Directive. Look at what happened on October 7th, 2023, when Israel were killing their own people. Like I said, it's the body count. They're trying to raise the body count as much as they can, and it doesn't matter if it's Israelis either. But most of the time, what that was supposed to mean is if it looks like some Israelis were going to become captives of Hamas, then kill them all. Kill even the Israelis, kill everybody there. So they burned them. They burned a lot of those people alive as well, the Israelis, the IDF. And they've testified to that in court. I know there was at least 2 soldiers, and there's probably a lot more, because I only heard about 2. So these rioters in, I still don't have the code is down here, but anyway, they're told to kill as many people as possible, and mostly police, but I'll get to that. But I think in Israel they killed, I think the number was closer around 300 that they actually killed on October 7th, 2023. And of course, Israel said 1,200 to 1,200, but it's just to run the numbers up to make it, make everybody, think that, oh, Hamas did all of them. That's, look at how brutal they are. How many people 5 or 6 Mossad agents can kill in such a very short time. Yeah, they decapitated, raped, and burned people alive. I mean, a bunch of nice people. And their handlers told them actually to do all that stuff. And as I told you, I think it was in yesterday, some of them were on drugs because they couldn't actually do this stuff unless they got themselves drugged up. And it reminds you, and that I guess is also some ancient, you ever heard of assassins, the word assassin? So where that comes from, the word assassin, assassin is killing somebody. I mean, who knows better than the Israelis about that? But I think a lot of that happened in a place, even in Iran. I think it was the first place, or it was in Iraq or something. It was around that same area. And assassin comes from the word hashish, derived from cannabis, from marijuana. So they would get high on cannabis, and I guess that would help them to do assassinations. And it's very similar to what is going on here, and these people, admit. And that's exactly like what the Iranians do, is they make drugs available for the soldiers, and make them to lose their judgment and everything, and that they're going to be recklessly rushing out and maybe get themselves killed, running and get themselves shot down by the Russians. But they think that, well, maybe if we can kill a Russian or two, and that's, I guess it's worth it, even when they're running out of people. But the effect that this is having, it's actually uniting the Iranian people. But you remember, with all of this stuff that I told you, all of these terrible things, beheadings and all that sort of thing, do you remember in Syria where there was this group called ISIS? And I've already said to you guys before that the original definition of ISIS is Israeli Secret Intelligence Services. And it's really strange, isn't it, that these ISIS people in Iran are being directed by Israel's Secret Intelligence Services, the Mossad. So ISIS is being directed by ISIS. I mean, how more clear do I need to make that for you? And like I said, if you guys remember, I mean, a lot of you maybe never saw this, but it's actually, like I said, there's a crest and everything, and it says ISIS, Israeli Secret Intelligence Services, on there. And that's the honest to God truth. And Israeli they like to do these things, and they think these things are funny jokes, and they're probably sitting back and laughing right now that a lot of people haven't tied the two together, ISIS and ISIS, like I just told you. So, oh yeah, but I'll tell you what, it has nothing to do with stupidity. It's just being naive, unless you knew that's exactly what that was all about, and that they did it as a joke. They called it ISIS as a joke because that's the name of their, conglomeration of their security services, their secret intelligence, in security. So there, I guess there was three: the Shin Bet and the Mossad, and the other one was for stealing nuclear secrets. And I don't even know the name of that. But that was, I think, Jonathan Pollard was an asset of that. And I didn't even know that they let Jonathan Pollard go. I guess he was an American, but he's probably living in Israel. You know that he is. So, because he was very strange how a lot of Americans in high positions are more loyal to Israel than they are to the United States. I just don't understand that. A little bit of this. Money, 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 money. Terrible how everybody is run so easily by money, but that's the truth. Was at the root of all evil. Anyway. Okay. But anyway, the Iranian people are becoming more united than ever, I guess. Now you're finding out when you see these protests. The protests are massive. I don't know, you have to see that. And probably today, they're not probably going to show them to you. You have to really look somewhere else to see them. And it's like in Yemen. You see these things in Yemen where there's nothing but a whole sea of people, and it goes back as far as the eye could see. And it's very much like that in Iran, in these big cities. I guess you have to have the big, broad, wide avenues, if they can find cities like that, because there's so many people. And it's not protesting, they're rallying in support of the government of Iran. So that shows you how much they hate their government, as Donald Trump and Lindsey Graham and Benjamin Netanyahu. Oh, the people are so oppressed. It's just like probably in Belarus. Oh, but actually in Belarus, the truth is, they don't even want you to protest in favor of the government because, they feel that some of these other knuckleheads, they might throw some bombs and things like that out. They tell that to even foreigners, even if you like the government. They said, actually, they probably, and seriously, and I'm serious, they may not like it when I say positive things about the government, even on this channel right here. So that's why you don't hear a lot of people talking about it, because as a student, when you come here, they just tell you to stay out of this stuff. Don't get involved in it. Maybe they feel that they have to watch out for the security of even foreigners that are here. And maybe if I would, some kind of a radical in favor of the government, that somebody would put a bomb in my dumpster out in the back or something like that. Maybe that's why they probably didn't want to acknowledge the fact that maybe that was why somebody put a bomb in the dumpster and blew up the entire thing with all the dumpsters there. I don't know, not all of them. A couple of them burned, and the house was burned and stuff like that. So, yes, okay. At least it wasn't, right on my lap or something. I don't even want to tell you about some strange people I see hanging around me sometimes. Don't want to be a statistic. Okay, Iran has these voice messages that were sent to these people. And I think some of these people that confessed, when they were caught and Iran took them in, Iran is actually very, very, very good at interrogation, because how do they get these people to tell them everything? And you see these people, and it's not like they've been tortured like in the United States or what the Ukrainians do. They like black eyes and broken bones and hair all messed up and everything. Like when you see what the Ukrainians do, and in the States and other countries. I've been in other countries and I've seen this, and I've seen, they got some guys in one country that I lived in, and some really badly beaten. A lot of them have black eyes and swollen faces and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, the ones in Iran, they don't do that, and they act as if they're talking to their neighbor or their best friend or something when they're admitting all of these things. But Iran, the voice message, here's one. It says, the voice message tell the rioters that if there is police, shoot at police. If not, then attack the civilians. So shoot the civilians if there are no police present. And I think there is even more. Oh, what matters is to increase the number of victims, more blood to shed. It probably said more bloodshed, but they translated it to shed. So they said, they were given the instructions to these rioters. What matters is to increase the number of victims, more bloodshed. Okay. Other news, diplomats from a few Nordic countries. Now, this is where I was going to mention something about Donald Trump and stuff that he says. He's He's his own propaganda industry of, on his own. That's why he makes so many tweets. Every day is at least three major tweets, of disinformation 9 times out of 10, bragging and whatever the heck he says on these things. It's already worth watching these things, and a lot of times, obviously, they get too ridiculous. But you know what he said? That there's Russian and Chinese ships all along the coast of Greenland. So we have to take it before the Russians get it. So, is that a reason to take something? But anyway, and why would Russian want it anyway? And I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even see how it is strategic. The only time it would be strategic is if you want to control like the entirety of the Arctic, and Russia operates only in their zone, That is it. Or maybe in international waters as well. But it's not like the United States where they feel they can go anywhere they want to. But okay, what was happening? A few Nordic diplomats, from the Scandinavian countries and all that, they say that Trump's claim of Russian and Chinese vessels are not true. And the quote says, "It's simply not true. I have seen the intelligence. There are no ships, no submarines." Another diplomat said, "Russian ships are in the Arctic, but on the Russian side." So in other words, they're not near Greenland. I don't know what Donald Trump, nobody knows where he gets a lot of the stuff he comes up with, like the fentanyl. And some people are saying there is zero fentanyl that comes from Venezuela. And then I think he started switching to cocaine. And I think, like I said, I'm pretty sure there is some. It's not necessarily the truth that any of it, and it's very small amounts, because it comes from Colombia. And I think they're trying to get a hold of that. And some goes into Venezuela, and then it goes in small quantities. So it's not like big drug shipments. And maybe none of it even gets to the United States. Maybe it doesn't even move more than 3 islands away from Venezuela. Like I said, that was one time somebody, it was a Venezuelan ship, what do you call it? No, not ship, fishermen. And they had but it was enough for them to, I don't know, put something and throw it overboard with their hand or something like that. I don't know how big it was. It could have been 1 pound of cocaine. I don't know. I wasn't there, but they somehow threw it over, and it wasn't like a big amount. So like 1 bag, like I said, I don't think it'd be more than 1 pound. So, and it reminds you, when you think about this, Donald Trump talking about these ships, it reminds you of the Gulf of Tonkin. If you guys remember the Gulf of Tonkin, I believe how that went down was, and if you remember, Lyndon B. Johnson, and I've mentioned this, Candace Owens has mentioned this a few times, other people have mentioned this as well. There was some sort of a deal being made with Lyndon B. Johnson, and some people wanted the United States to get into the Vietnam War. I guess primarily at that time it was France. France was involved in a war with North Vietnam, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, some people wanted the United States to get involved in that war. And so what happened is they staged something, and it's called the Gulf of Tonkin, and then they came up with the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. And I believe what happened was they just made it up. They made it up and said that a North Vietnamese ship was firing on an American ship. And I don't know if they said it sunk it or something like that. I can't even remember, to be honest with you. But anyway, it was pretty much all fake. It was a faked thing. And to get all the American people all riled up, it's how this news works. And that's what I'm getting at when these people, that they put these comments on my channel just as much as anybody else's, or you see even full channels that are run by fake news, But this stuff, it just goes like this. And I'm not blaming the people that don't really know what's going on. And then even if I say that, if they're watching me, they'll be insulted thinking that I'm calling them a dummy. And they're not dummies. It's just naivety. And like I've told you people, and I've seen some things. I worked in the U.S. military. I worked in the U.S. Army Intelligence Battalion, and I've worked for some of the highest ranking people, in the U.S. military and government. And you see a lot of things, you hear a lot of things, and sometimes it takes a little while and something doesn't sit right with you and it doesn't make any sense. And then years later, you see some other piece of information and then you start thinking, now that makes sense, why that happened. I don't know, a lot of you probably have experienced the same thing. I hope you have. If you don't think that way, if something does not quite seem right and you just have to stay curious, and then something happens in the future and it say, that explains it all. Aliens or something like that. So, yes, but anyway, the Gulf of Tonkin and the Gulf of Tonkin it's like some fantasy ships. And I guess Donald Trump, he's looking for fantasy Russian and Chinese ships. But of course that one, back in the time of the Vietnam days, I guess that started a war. But you never know. Maybe Donald Trump has got some plans there too. I tell you what, I don't know. I don't know what the heck is up with Donald Trump. I don't know. Wow. Well, along with that, Congressman Ted Lieu, he's that crazy Asian-looking guy. He's actually a trickster as well. He was trying to trick Candace Owens, remember, into being a Nazi or something like that. That she likes Adolf Hitler or something like that. He tried to trick Candace Owens, and Candace Owens shoved it right down his throat. Candace Owens she's a force to be reckoned with. Some people, who was that called her a dragon? She is amazing, Candace Owens. Like I say, you don't argue with Candace Owens, unless you know you're right, you don't, you got to be right, and you got to have the receipts, or Candace Owens is going to ruin you, I tell you. What a great woman. Okay, but this Ted Lieu, and this time he doesn't make any weird things like that, so he's just saying, and it's also kind of weird, it's chancy I wouldn't have said it, he's told U.S. troops to disobey Trump if he tells them to attack Greenland. And I believe he was saying it because it would be an illegal order. And he was going on the premise that it's an illegal order because it would not have been approved by Congress. So you don't go to war unless there's an approval by Congress. Donald Trump is trying to say he doesn't go by any laws or anything anymore. He goes by his own feelings and his mentality and his morality or something like that. Oh man, we're in real trouble. No rule of law. He only uses it like, I don't know, they chased that tanker across, and they caught it off the coast of Scotland, this Russian tanker, and I guess they based it on American law, but does American law work in international waters? And does that mean that foreign ships are supposed to comply with U.S. law, even though maybe they've never even been in U.S. waters? I guess that's how that one works. Real crazy world now. Okay. So, but I tell you what, I remember in the military, if you are told to do something that is illegal, or I think there were certain 2 or 3 conditions where you are allowed to not obey orders. And I think that might apply this time. Like to go to war against some country, I don't know, I guess even if they haven't attacked the United States, at least they can do is lie and say that Greenland tried to attack us. They threw snowballs at Donald Trump or Vance when he was there or whatever. That at least they can go that far. Yeah. So did I mention or not Honduras? Yeah, I did. I said they're trying to conduct a full recount of all the votes cast in that election that brought, and it was going for days, and it was very close apparently. And Donald Trump was threatening. I think maybe this is in light of the fact, and it might actually work I don't know. Donald Trump, he's, likes to threaten people. You do what I tell you to do or else there's going to be bad consequences. Bad things are going to happen to you if you don't do what I just tell you. We wouldn't want to see that to happen now, would we? That's a matter of fact how Donald Trump talks. We wouldn't want to see bad things happen. Gosh, we know as well as your daughter does her laundry. We know which countries you sell oil to. And I think now he's urging also, I think that goes along in that, it says I think he says, what was it, to Cuba, you better make the right choice very soon, or something's going to happen to your daughter. Yeah, wow, it's terrible though. So anyway, but they're going to recount all these votes apparently, and I don't know if it's to say that, well, we got scared and we decided to give a couple of extra votes to Donald Trump's candidate so that he would win, or maybe, that they're going to, but he won already. So it's not going to be, it would only, I tell you what, there would only be a recount in the hopes that they could overturn that election and maybe put the person in the president's seat who actually won the election instead of who was threatened into office by Donald Trump. Boy, I tell you what. Anyway, the Americas are in, the whole hemisphere is in real trouble. And Steve Bannon, he came out and said that it would be really dumb. I think I said that yesterday already. Steve Bannon was saying that it'd be dumb to go after Iran because Donald Trump has got enough on his plate already. Greenland, he's got that hemisphere. And he's going to, I hope these people give him a lot of trouble in the hemisphere, try to keep him busy. Did I mention, I mentioned already Nicaragua. Nicaragua is going to make something even bigger. And China, I guess they can use this as an example, what happened now. And Donald Trump taking over all of these countries. They better put some pretty good assets, or really look into Nicaragua if they're actually going to go through with that. So China was kicked out of, even though with huge investments, they were kicked out of Panama and out of Bolivia. And a lot of the resources, a lot of the oil and things for China was coming from Venezuela. And Bolivia was their chief source of lithium, as well as other minerals and things for all the cell phones and Huawei, all of this stuff that's coming out. A lot of that lithium came from Bolivia. So maybe you're going to see an increase in Chinese prices. Thanks to Donald Trump, everything that's Chinese, Walmart, your bill is going to go up higher. All the stuff you order from Amazon. Thanks to Donald Trump, I guess, bringing the prices down. I don't know. Yes, that's what happens when you start to mess with the economy, and upset the balance. So who knows how the balance is going to land? I guess everybody's going to be screaming for pay increases. I don't know. Anyway, I guess that's it for today, everybody. It's almost at 1 hour and 20 minutes. I hope it was interesting enough to you guys. And I'll see you on the next one, the next very good video. Bye-bye.